Hello and welcome back to the Second Take Podcast. My name is Calvin Williams. I'm here with my co-host Marco Rogers, and today we welcome you to episode number 99 of this podcast. Super exciting times in this community. We are super excited for episode 100. We'll be doing a special edition college basketball episode, or college basketball starting episode next week. So definitely look forward to that. But for now, tune in to this absolutely awesome recap and some predictions for a very, very good week of college football. So many ranked matchups this week. It truly doesn't get better than this. So, Marco, can you start us off with a quick college football week 9 recap?
So to start it off, number 6 Oklahoma gets stunned at Kansas. A game lots of people thought might be closer than expected, me being one of them, but I thought Oklahoma would kind of edge past Kansas here. But they did not. Dylan Gabriel, he only threw the ball 19 times, had a few explosive plays, but also a pick, did not throw a touchdown pass. Did use his legs pretty well, though, with 2 rushing touchdowns. Actually 3 rushing touchdowns, but you just cannot go 14 for 19, 170 yards against a pretty good offense in Kansas, and Kansas just ran the ball all over them. Guys like Devin Neal just dominant, 25 carries, 112 yards, and a touchdown. Jason Bean also ran the ball well. However, it is surprising how bad Jason Bean played throwing the ball in this game, considering they dropped 38 points. However, I do believe they got a pick 6 early in the game. But yeah, Oklahoma, they didn't look good last week against UCF, and here they just get pretty easily beaten here by Kansas. Obviously, a pretty close game came on the wire, but Kansas was leading for pretty much the whole game outside of a brief period in the first half.
Yeah, definitely disappointing result for Oklahoma. But, would you say that they're out of playoff contention? Because I wouldn't at all, because if they still beat Texas in that, or whoever they play in that conference championship, I'd say that they're still definitely in it, wouldn't you say?
We will talk about more about the playoff rankings later, but based off the fact that they're ranked number 9 and Texas is at 7, I'm not sure if another win against number 7 is enough to put you up there. They would definitely need some help, but I do believe that would give them a decent chance.
Yeah, I'm just saying they're definitely not out of contention, but it certainly helps other teams looking for a spot. All right, moving on. Number 8, Oregon dominates at number 13, Utah. Kind of shocking. Both Marco and I expected this to be a relatively close game. Didn't you pick Utah?
Oh yeah, I believe I did.
Yeah, so he believes that he did, and honestly, it was just a really poor performance from Bryson Barnes. 15 for 29, 136 yards, and 2 picks, no touchdowns. Utes only put up 6 points in a loss, 35-6. Bo Nix, a pretty, I would say, solid game. 24 for 31, 248 yards, and 2 touchdowns. No picks is about all that you can ask from a quarterback. Nothing to write home about, but definitely a super solid game that helped get his team to victory. Marco?
Yeah, I cannot believe just how dominant this game was. Bryson Barnes truly looked incapable of being a true quarterback in this game. Oregon just didn't really have to try offensively to win this game. 2 picks from Bryson Barnes, around 50% completion percentage. Not even a ton of penalties either for Utah. They just played awful and got outplayed by a better team. This game also proves to me I think Oregon is a legitimate playoff contender. I think they went out, they easily meet the playoffs, no help needed. And yeah, this Oregon team definitely looking scary. Utah, definitely tough without Cameron Rising. And I don't think they're going to do too well the rest of the year.
All right, and next we have number 1 Georgia making a statement win at Florida in a 43-20 victory. Definitely big for them. They've had close games against teams like South Carolina, Auburn, notably even like Vanderbilt was closer than Georgia fans would like. So definitely a really good win over a Florida team who we expected to keep this one close, but really just it was Georgia through and through in this one, and they got the job done here. Marco?
Not even a bad performance out of Graham Mertz. Honestly, he was the best player for Florida. However, they just couldn't really run the football too well. And Georgia offensively just looked so dominant. If this is what they look without Brock Bowers, if they can implement him into this offense could be legitimately scary. And I honestly think that Georgia's offense is going to carry their defense this year more than their defense carries their offense. Obviously, they still have an elite defense who can turn it on when needed. but this offense is definitely looking scary against a good Florida defense doing that. Big time statement win out of the Bulldogs.
Huge win for Georgia. And like you said, if you're able to implement that star tight end, you're going to have a scary looking offense on your hands. So, and then next up, just a few quick games. Number 3, Ohio State gets a win at Wisconsin. This was actually my upset pick just because Ohio State has historically had trouble going into Camp Randall and getting easy wins, but they get it done 24-10. Kyle McCord's still not good. He threw 2 picks. So, Ohio State continues to struggle on offense, but holding Wisconsin to 10 points, they get the job done. Margo?
This game was definitely closer than the score. 10-10, pretty decently far into the third quarter. But this game also proved to me that Kyle McCord really is not that good a quarterback. He turned the ball over twice. All he really does is give it to Marvin Harrison, who is the best player in college football, in my opinion. Trevion Henderson, very good performance. Him back is big for this offense. But Ohio State's offense just doesn't scare me that much. Their defense does look good, but playing against an incapable quarterback like Braden Locke is going to come with some advantages for the defense. Braylon Allen, pretty bad performance. But overall, Ohio State's defense continues to look good, but their offense continues to not scare me.
And then number 5, Washington struggles at Stanford. Marco, you can take that one.
Another struggling performance against a pretty bad team here for Washington. I was watching the end of this game, and Stanford kept on keeping it close. This was a 2-point game with just a few minutes left. Actually, Stanford had a chance to go take the lead with a drive late after they picked off Michael Penix. However, they were unable to do anything with that drive. But, this game, you could realistically say Washington deserved to lose this game. Penix, good performance. Lots of incompletions, though, and that pick was not really his fault, but still did throw the pick. Polk, good game. Roma Dunze was not too active here, but really, really good heart shown by Ashton Daniels, a Stanford quarterback. Tough loss, but they just proved that they can compete with the elite team.
For sure. Good statement performance from Stanford, and a little bit scary if you are the number 5 team ranked in the country, being Washington. So moving on, we have number 11, Oregon State, losing at Arizona. Marco did get this upset pick, which I believe was absolute garbage, considering that Arizona was is quite a good team, and it was a very close spread. But, this one was just, came from a good performance by Noah Fafita, threw 3 touchdowns, did throw a pick, but also just great defense from Arizona as a collective. Holding the Beavers to just 24 points is definitely a good accomplishment. They couldn't really get much going, like in the air or ground attacks. Like DJ Uiagalelei threw for 218 yards, which is not what you want when you have a quarterback like that, especially when you have 0 rushing yards to accompany that. Oregon State did rush for 1 touchdown, but just Arizona was able to manage them defensively, and they got the job. Margo?
As I expected, Arizona gets this game done. Big win for them. Definitely looks like a scary program. Next up, number 20, Duke shuts out number 18, Louisville. This was the most boring ranked matchup ever. Louisville just a better team. They bounced back after the loss against Pitt. Good performance.
Definitely good performance there. Now moving on to our little college football playoff reaction. I'll just list off all 10, then we can give our reactions. So first we have number 1, Ohio State, number 2, Georgia, number 3, Michigan, number 4, Florida State, number 5, Washington, number 6, Oregon, number 7, Texas, number 8, Bama, number 9, Oklahoma, and number 10, Ole Miss. So where I would start is going to be number 1, obviously, just starting at the top. Ohio State, this one really shocked me. I know all the FPI things by ESPN had Ohio State at number 1, but it just really seems like this is garbage. Like, I know Michigan's going through the whole Stein ceiling thing, and we don't have any really good wins at all, but still to put Ohio State that high with the lack of offense they've shown all season. I mean, I would even prefer Georgia to be above them. I don't care if Ohio State's above us, but like to be at number 1, just seems a little odd to me, don't you think, Marco?
Yeah, especially considering the fact that their main wins are against number 11 and number 15 at home. Which I mean, yeah, you win 2 home games against not top 10 teams, like. That's not that good of a schedule. Georgia is significantly better. The eye test has not looked great for them. Yeah, don't see why they're 1. At 2, Georgia, they probably deserve to be 1. But yeah, they're a very good team. Not really unexpected that they're in the top 2. At 3, Michigan. I mean, yeah, if you're going to put Ohio State and Georgia at 1 and 2, you have to put us at 3. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't mind us being at 3 at all, just because of our lack of strength of schedule, as I said. But I just can't really believe Ohio State's number 1. Moving down the list, number 4, Florida State. I mean, I think I'm fine with that, especially since Oregon has a loss, Texas has a loss, and Washington didn't play great last week. You're not really getting any arguments from me in that spot, Marco.
Yeah, Florida State definitely continuing to look dominant, looking like a playoff team right now. Especially with lack of competition in the ACC, I think they'll cruise into the playoffs. At 5, Washington, 2 tough performances. They beat number 6 though, and everyone else has 1 loss, so can't really put them any lower.
Yep, and then for 7 through 10, kind of just all 1-loss teams who are ranked based on their dominance. What about number 10, Ole Miss? What do you think about that?
I think they're severely overrated. I do understand that there are a lot of teams that aren't great. I don't think Penn State really deserves to be above them, but it's just hard for me to imagine that nobody is ahead of Ole Miss just because they're just not that good of a football team. Feels like there's a pretty big drop-off after 9.
Yeah, I would agree, but then again, it's always there's always going to be disagreements. What really matters is that playoff poll that comes out after conference championship week. So moving on, we have the NFL quick recap from last week, and then some predictions. So first off, Lions beat the Raiders. Good win for the Lions, good team win. Jahmyr Gibbs really felt like he came out of his shell in this one. And Lions, great defensive performance, got a job done. Marco?
Yeah, good win against bad team as expected. Good performance from the Lions. However, I'm looking forward to them playing some tougher competition. Not this upcoming week, but just in general. And looking forward for them to be able to beat good competition, not just beat up on bad teams.
Yeah, it'll be good to see us get a few more good wins under our belt. Moving on, the Niners lose their 3rd straight. As a wise rapper once said, the Lions won again, but in this case, the Niners lose again. So 3rd straight loss to the Bengals. They really, I don't know if it's a morale thing, but they just haven't looked good since they got that first loss a couple weeks ago. Marco, what do you think this is all happening for?
I mean, Brock Purdy really doesn't look great. I mean, their defense, not awful, but Bengals are definitely starting to turn it on right now. Burrow really turning up to that postseason/midseason form that he's always in. I think the Bengals are turning into legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Obviously, that 1-3 start, but 3 straight against good teams. I think the Bengals are elite. And the Niners, I think they'll figure it out. Obviously, that Chase Young trade they just made, which was absolute robbery. I think they'll be fine. However, that kind of takes them out of the Super Bowl contenders for me. I think they could probably make the NFC Championship, but with that quarterback, I just don't think you really make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, your quarterback's your most important position, so whenever you don't have a leader, it's gonna be tough. So moving on to our NFL predictions: Dolphins versus Chiefs in Germany. So another international game for the NFL. Super good one in this one. I mean, 2 high-powered offenses. Chiefs, obviously, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. Marco, who you got in this one?
Personally, I got the Dolphins in this one. The Chiefs' offense did not look great last week, and the Dolphins' offense did against a pretty good Patriots defense. Dolphins' defense didn't look great at times last week, but I think they'll do okay here against the Chiefs. Definitely an intriguing performance, but give me the Dolphins. I think that high-powered offense gets it done. But lots of touchdowns scored in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is going to be one of the more entertaining games of the year. Super high scoring, but Dolphins get it done in the end. Moving on, Bills at the Bengals. Pretty good matchup, but I'm going to take the Bills in this one just because I realize Joe Burrow is starting to come out of his shell a little bit. Like you said, that mid-season / playoff form that he's kind of started slow every season of his career and has picked it up towards the end, middle / end, and got his team into the playoffs and have done pretty well. But I still think he's heating up a little bit more. Last game, obviously, he played very well. But Josh Allen gets a few deep balls going. Stephon Diggs, couple big catches, and the Bills get it done. Marco.
I would like to see both teams get the run game going. Certainly the biggest weakness from each team. But I think Bengals get it going here in this game. They're at home. Big time game, Sunday night. So give me the Bengals here. I think Burrow plays very well under the lights. Mixon has a good performance. And Allen a couple of picks. Give me the Bengals.
Yep, and then moving on, we have the Cowboys at the Eagles. An intriguing one in this one. Dak Prescott versus Jalen Hurts is the quarterback matchup. Jalen Hurts has had a solid season. I would say the only thing that he's really struggled with is the interceptions, as he's thrown 8 this season, which is definitely not ideal at all. And then for the Cowboys, you have Dak Prescott leading the way. Definitely, I mean, he's kind of been a mediocre quarterback for most of his career. People have always thought more of him than what he actually is. So that's the reason I'm taking the Eagles in this one. 7-1 team. They can continue to be defensively dominant, and they get the job done. Marco.
I'm actually going to go with the Cowboys in this one. Although A.J. Brown has proven himself as the second best receiver in the NFL, at least in my opinion, with that impressive last week performance. I think CeeDee Lamb really starting to come out of his shell. Crazy game last week. I think Pollard turns it on against this pretty good defense. But I think the Dallas Cowboys O-line gets going after a dominant performance against the Rams. I think they continue that and beat a slightly overrated Eagles team.
Yep, so that wraps it up for our NFL predictions and recap. Moving on to our college football Week 10 predictions, the most exciting week as of yet, as it seems to be every single week. It just keeps getting better as we near the end of the season. So let's start off with the Michigan game. Number 3, Michigan versus Purdue. Michigan coming off of lots of allegations and a bye week. Marco, who you got?
I think Michigan wins this game very comfortably. At this point, this is probably our easiest game of the year, maybe outside of East Carolina and Bowling Green. Purdue is a very bad team. This game should not be remotely close. Night game should be a bit cold, but not too rainy or no weather impacts other than that. Hudson Card is a good quarterback, although I do believe he was injured early in the season, although he is back. But, he could have a big game. I don't think he will. Their defense is weak. They allowed 31 points in Nebraska last week. I think we run all over them, pass pretty easily on them, and give me Michigan here 41-6.
Yep, definitely an intriguing one, but not really, because Michigan's going to dominate this one and pretty easy win. We beat some of the allegations, at least a 40-point win in this one. Moving on, number 16, Oregon State. Moving on, number 16, Oregon State at Colorado. This is actually going to be my upset pick. Colorado fans have definitely made this stadium harder to play to play at in the past year, and I think Shedeur is going to have a great game, outplays DJ Uiagalelei, and Colorado makes themselves one game away from bowl eligibility.
The only problem with that is the fact that Colorado cannot protect their quarterback. He gets hit on every play. Oregon State's going to do the same to him. Give me Oregon State 28-13.
Yep, and then next up we have number 2 Mizzou at number 2 Georgia. Mark, you want to take that one? Or sorry, number 12 Mizzou at number 2 Georgia.
Definitely an intriguing game. Probably Georgia's toughest team for the remainder of the year, though maybe not their toughest game with them having to play Neyland later in the year. However, I mean, this game pretty much decides the SEC West. I mean, if Mizzou wins, Georgia could hypothetically not even make the SEC championship and miss out on the playoffs. Luther Burdens is the second best receiver in college football for Mizzou. Brady Cook continues to cook. They have a pretty good run game, but I just think Georgia, their offense really began to turn it on, and Mizzou has a severely weak defense, allowing 49 points to the last elite offense they played in LSU. Give me Georgia in this one, 48-31. I think Mizzou keeps it close early, maybe even takes like a 2-score lead, but Georgia comes out in the second half ready to play, and they dominate offensively. So give me Georgia in a kind of close match.
Yeah, a wise man once said, named Marco Rogers, Brady Cook will continue to cook, but it will not be enough cooking to handle the Georgia Bulldogs. Although I think it's going to be opposite format. I think Georgia going to take an early lead and take it a little too easy in the second half. And Missouri's going to make a little bit of a comeback, but it just won't be quite enough. So moving on, we have number 9 Oklahoma at number 22 Oklahoma State. Pretty intriguing matchup, especially since what happened to Oklahoma last week. Just super disappointing performance in the loss to Kansas, but I think I'm still going to take Oklahoma in this one. I think Dylan Gabriel in that offense is just simply too powerful for that Oklahoma State offense / defense. Defense is going to have a hard time stopping them. Offense is going to have a hard time keeping up with them. Oklahoma gets the job done. Marco?
I mean, if Oklahoma State did not have a loss to South Alabama in the second game of the season, people would be talking about them as legitimate playoff contenders. However, they did lose that game, but this team really is starting to turn it on. Alan Bowman, the Michigan transfer, he was like Michigan's fourth-string quarterback for a couple of years, is their starting quarterback. Their defense has been performing at a very high level, allowing just 13 points to Cincinnati last week. They have wins against Kansas and Kansas State. Kansas, a team that obviously beat Oklahoma last week. Turns out property doesn't work, but I think they can definitely compete in this. It's a bedlam game. Oklahoma does not do too well in Boone Pickens Stadium. So give me Oklahoma State here. I actually think they knock Oklahoma out of playoff contention. I think Bowman has a legacy game. Oklahoma State runs the ball well, control the clock, and Dylan Gabriel just doesn't make enough big plays, and maybe one costly mistake like that pick six against Kansas cost them. Give me Oklahoma State here in a thrilling rivalry.
Yeah, it's going to be a super fun game to watch. It was extremely awesome last year, so I'm definitely excited to give that one a gander. Moving on, we have number 11 Penn State at Maryland. Marco, you want to take this one?
So this is actually going to be my upset pick. Penn State favored by 8.5, but Maryland's coming off 2 ridiculously bad performances. Losses against Illinois and Northwestern, both unacceptable. I think Coach Mike Locksley knows that. And then know that this game is huge. It is program defining. They start out 5-0, lose 3 straight. Obviously lost to Ohio State, but losing 2 games against inferior teams, you just cannot do. I think this team understands a win here would define the program, prove that they are here to stay, and legitimate team in the Big Ten East. I think Talia comes to play. Lots of big plays, similar to what IU was able to do to Penn State last week, and they actually almost won that game. We didn't talk about that, but IU outplayed Penn State for a majority of that game. I think Alar in this Penn State offense puts together another mid-performance, and Maryland comes away with a W at home.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen someone use a team losing the past 3 games, 2 of which to bad teams, as a reason for them to win a game against the number 11 team in the country. So I mean, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I'm taking the Nittany Lions in this one, even though they looked not good at all against Indiana last week. I think they get the job done, and they get the win over the Terrapins. Moving on, number 5 Washington at number 20 USC. USC is just bad in my opinion. Like they're just not good. No defense has been displayed in a while. I mean, they've had their couple games where the defense almost looked better than the offense. But in my opinion, even though Washington didn't have a great game last week, I think they get the job done. But then again, USC is always a team that can give you a scare if you're not able to score on most of your possessions, which frankly isn't hard to do. But I mean, USC is that team that can definitely score the ball, so you definitely have to be on your A game on the offensive side of the ball. Marco?
Yeah, I think Washington, all they really have to do is pressure Caleb Williams. He does struggle under pressure. Their O-line is not great. Last week, they really should have lost to Cal. Not sure how they came out with a win there. Pretty surprising to me. So this game, way more hyped up than it should be. I think Washington's going to cruise by. Even though they played against two pretty average teams, I don't think USC is a big step up from, obviously they're a step up from Stanford, but I don't think they're that big of a step up from the last two teams they've played. I think Washington is going to win this game. It won't be a blowout, but I don't think it's going to be that close. Give me Washington here, 45-27.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see how that one goes. Moving on, number 23, Kansas State at number 7, Texas. Kansas State coming off two big wins over TCU and Houston, which aren't great teams, but they won by a lot of points. And Texas, a team that barely beat Houston, they only beat them 31-24, whereas last week Kansas State beat them 41-0. So give me the Wildcats in this one. Obviously, as Marco said the past couple weeks, the transitive property doesn't work, but in this case, I'm saying it does. Kansas State gets it done over the Longhorns. Marco?
I think Texas comes in ready to play. Last time they played a good team in Oklahoma, they really struggled, and they lost that game. But give me Texas here. I think Kansas State keeps it close. They do have a very good offense. Their defense is playing better. However, I don't think their defense is playing good enough to stop this offense. Although Quinn Ewers is out, Malik Murphy, very good performance last week against BYU last week. I think they control the ball on the ground, maybe a few deep shots to Xavier Worthy. Give me Texas here, 35-28. Pretty close game, but not as close as the score says.
All right, and our final game of the week, number 14, LSU at number 8, Bama. Always a marquee matchup. Super exciting to see this one. Marco, who you got?
I'm actually going to take LSU in this one. I think if Jaden Daniels leads them to a win in this one, he comes out as a Heisman favorite and likely will win the award. Malik Neighbors is the third best receiver in college football. He is unstoppable. I don't think Bama's going to have an answer for him. I mean, this team has put up over 45 points in like every game. I guess not in the Arkansas game, but this offense is elite. They are tough to stop. I don't think Bama's going to have too much success, and I just don't think Milroe can put up enough points on a average LSU defense to be able to come out with a win. So give me LSU here, 35-24. I think they win this somewhat handily and shot the Tide in Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, the games that LSU has struggled this season have been the games that teams were able to the teams were able to keep up with their abundance of scoring. So their losses include teams like Ole Miss, where Ole Miss put up 55 points. I just don't think Alabama is capable of putting up that many points against a team like LSU, who doesn't even have that great of a defense, but they are just as physical as Alabama, despite their lackings on defense. So give me LSU in this one. They just simply outscore Alabama. Marco, you got anything else?
Nope, definitely a huge matchup there to finish the day. And big week of college football.
Yep, huge week. And just so you know, the Second Take podcast will be making an appearance together at the Michigan versus Purdue game this weekend. So if you see us, don't be afraid. Ask for autographs, ask for pictures, tag us on Instagram. We will always be happy to sign things. And that's it. So thank you all for listening to the Second Take podcast. We will see you next week for episode 100. Peace.
Peace.